all in. Come on, baby. Put your shit in your room. I don't mind you sleeping on the couch, but I don't want your shit all in my house, in my house. You're gonna make me fuck you up. Your sheet. Look, what is this? Why? Get your other sock. Get that bag. Because that's from you washing clothes. Thank you.
I'm joined here by members of the Frezno Police Department.
Look at this. This don't make no motherfucking sense. My front room should not look like this. I don't give a damn if you're sleeping in here or not. This don't make sense. Come here. Okay.
Frezno County District Attorney Lisa Smith-Kemp, United States Assistant Attorney Kim Sanchez, Jaime Magalla, the FBI Supervising Agent Eric Anderson, the ATF Resident in Charge Jeff Brennigan, the Homeland Security Investigation. Also with me today is Howie Yang. Howie is a community member in the Southeast Policing District and also a member of the Southeast Asian community and the CEO of the Frezno Center. I asked him to be here because his community has experienced a tragic loss. This has actually hit home to him. Some of his board members, family were his part of the shooting. I've received phone calls offering support from Senators Jim Costa and State Senator Melissa Furtado. I'd like to thank them for their phone calls and their offer of support. Last night at about 7:48 p.m., the Frezno Police Department received numerous 911 calls regarding a shooting at 53D1 East Ramona. The callers indicated that several people had been shot at this location. Upon arrival, officers immediately began securing the scene and started rendering aid to the victims. This involved multiple victims who had sustained mortal injuries. Officers performed CPR while responding medical aid to the riot. This was immediately classified as a mass casualty event because of the number of victims, which meant that each victim's injuries had to be prioritized by the degree of injury. Officers located 10 people who were shot in the backyard of this residence. 3 were pronounced deceased at the scene. 6 others were transported to local hospitals. Sadly, 1 died in surgery. Our investigation is still very active. We have several follow-up leads that we are currently investigating. I can tell you that there were approximately 30 people at the residence on this evening. They were there having a family party, a get-together, and they were watching football. This party was described as being very peaceful, very quiet, and it was not described as being out of control in any way. It was just a family event. Again, at about 7:48 p.m., at least 2 suspects entered the property from the side of the house. They came through an unlocked gate. They walked into the backyard and began immediately firing into the crowd. There were approximately 16 male adults in the backyard watching football. The witnesses described only seeing flashes of light from the weapon, as it was too dark on that side of the house to see the suspects. 10 of those 16 people at that event were struck by bullets. The unknown suspects fled the scene on foot. What I can tell you is this was not a random act. It appears that this incident was a targeted act of violence against this residence. We are investigating leads, and we do have information that possibly some people at this party were involved in a disturbance earlier this week. The ages of the deceased, all of whom are residents of Frezno except for one, are 23-year-old male adult, a 31-year-old male adult, a 38-year-old male adult, and a 40-year-old male adult who died at the hospital. The surviving victims range in age from 28 years to 36 years old. Fortunately, there were children at this party, and all of them were in the house at the time of the incident. The house was not struck, and it does not appear that they were the intended target. This investigation is going to take two phases now. The first phase will be the establishment of an Asian gang task force. And this will be headed up by Deputy Chief Pat Farmer and Captain Dennis Bridges. This will be a combined effort with the Frezno Police Department, its multi-gang task force, as well as officers, Southeast Asian officers of the department who are connected in the community, and our federal and state assets. The second phase of this operation will consist of healing the community. Captain Anthony Martinez, the Southeast Policing District Commander, will be overseeing this operation. And what that consists of is getting out into the community and talking to them and helping them heal. We'll be providing services to the victims and their families and offering them support. We'll also be putting out additional resources in the Southeast Policing District to deal with this issue, as well as several other Asian gang-related violence that occurred in Southeast Frezno, excuse me. I'd like now to introduce Deputy Chief Pat Farmer, who will be overseeing the Asian Gang Task Force. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hall. As Chief Hall mentioned, in response to this mass shooting that we had, the Frezno Police Department is standing up a task force specifically to assist our homicide unit in not only solving this particular crime, but also preventing any retaliation leading up to Hmong New Year, which generally starts the day after Christmas all the way through January 1st. So this task force will be spearheaded by Captain Dennis Bridges, that is in our investigations unit. And part of the task force will include our multi-agency gang enforcement consortium, MAGIC, along with our special response team, our traffic officers, our adult compliance team, also known as ACT. We're also bringing in our Special Investigations Bureau, which is Major Narcotics, our Vice Intelligence Unit, as well as CCAT, our Career Criminal Auto Theft Team. And we also have been in conversation with OES, the Office of Emergency Services, who have offered resources as well. In conjunction to the local and state, we have our federal partners standing behind me with the FBI, ATF, as well as HSI, and the U.S. Attorney's Office and the District Attorney's Office, who are all bringing their resources to assist us in this investigation. So one thing I could tell you is that we are going to use every resource available to us to solve this crime and to prevent any future retaliation down the road. So we are looking at this as a team effort to prevent future violence and to hold those who committed this horrific act accountable. So with that said, I'd like to now turn it over to Captain Anthony Martinez, who will talk about the community approach.
Thanks, Chief. I am Captain Anthony Martinez. I'm the Southeast District Commander. Last night's incident took place in my district. Wanted to tell you just a quick synopsis or a quick briefing of what that neighborhood is where this took place. It's approximately a 10-block neighborhood in the Southeast Policing District, and there are a lot of Hispanic and Southeast Asian families. Of the Southeast Asian families, there is a large number of Hmong families in that neighborhood. What took place last night, just as it shocked my officers that arrived there, has shocked that whole neighborhood. And it's now my job as a Southeast District Commander to make sure that we let them know that we're here with them and we're going to help them through this too. Because that entire neighborhood was victimized when this took place. As Chief Farmer has mentioned, beginning within an hour of the incident last night, we were already deploying additional resources to proactively make that area safe, to stabilize the violence, to do everything that we could to ensure that there was no further retaliation that stemmed from this incident. By this morning, we had already pulled 3 of my Southeast Asian officers that work in other special units and have assigned them to the Southeast Investigations Unit to help with translation and just a better feel for what goes on in that neighborhood. We called them out last night, and by 10 p.m., officers that I normally have on day shift that start at 6 in the morning were out last night talking to people and just trying to calm things down and let them know that they're here, and they were doing it in the Hmong language. This is something that Southeast prides itself in, is being able to reach out and connect with our community. This is an emergency now in this neighborhood, and we're doing all we can to calm things down. We will be going door to door on Lamona and some of the other surrounding blocks and speaking with everyone and just letting them know that we are here for them. We want the citizens of Frezno to know that we're doing everything we can to calm the violence and ensure that this doesn't spark in any other neighborhood in Frezno, specifically in that neighborhood where this took place last night. And on top of that, as Chief Hall has mentioned, I'm also working with my officers that responded to this call. A lot of times we miss that piece. Just as I tell you, I'm going to work with that neighborhood to make sure that we let them know that we're there for them and make sure that they're okay. I also want to make sure that my officers are okay. I had 12 officers last night that responded to a scene of chaos and tried to figure out who they could help and prioritize life-saving measures. I had 2 of my officers that were covered in blood and actually had to be decontaminated, go shower, and change their uniforms based on what they landed. They're hurting a little bit in that neighborhood right now. Too, and we're going to do everything we can to get this matter resolved on all levels, as Chief Hall has stressed. Chief.
I'd also like to introduce our District Attorney, Lisa Smith.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. Today is a very sad day for all of us here in Frezno. I'd like to first offer my condolences to the families who have lost loved ones, to the entire Hmong community and all the residents of Southeast Frezno. There are hundreds of thousands of decent, loving, and hardworking people that live in this community, and the fact that this type of activity is being highlighted in the national and international news media is heartbreaking to all of us who live here and are proud to be residents of Frezno. We all are so proud to represent the wonderful people of this community, and we want everyone to know that this is not typical behavior for Frezno. I want to thank Chief Hall and the Frezno Police Department for their leadership in coordinating the task force to investigate this senseless crime. The DA's office will be here to support the Frezno Police Department in any way that we can, and we too are grateful for the support of our federal partners at the United States Attorney's Office, the FBI, HSI, and ATF. We will work tirelessly to bring these violent criminals to justice, and I can promise you all that as soon as they are apprehended, we will prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law.
Before I open it up to questions, I would like to offer my condolences to the families, the friends, and the entire community who were victimized by this senseless act. I'd also like to echo what Captain Martinez said about our officers and what they had to witness, and our first responders with what they went through tonight or last night. And I agree that we will be, while we will be helping the community heal and we'll be assisting the families of these victims, right now our focus for the Fresno Police Department will be to apprehend the suspects responsible for this. We will have a single mission until we do that, and we will not rest until we arrest them. And that time, once we have that closure, then we will work on our officers, and we will help them deal with the situation and recover from the trauma that they've also witnessed. I want to thank both our federal and state partners who have not only reached out to me, but responded to the scene almost immediately. They were out there, and I have gotten nothing but complete support and cooperation from all of our federal and state assets. So I'd like to again thank them for all their support. I'll now open it up to questions. Well, anytime we have I'll take your last question first. Anytime we have a major event, the first concern we always have is retaliation. There is no indication that this residence or anyone at the residence were affiliated with the gang. However, whenever we have a major incident like this, we always look towards criminal and gang activity. So it always becomes a focus of our investigation. But at this time, I would like to let the community know that this house was just a family event, and everybody that were at this residence are truly victims. However, we don't know everybody that was there, and we don't know what their association is, and we're looking into every angle. It does appear that they were from the Hmong community of the Southeast Asian community. At this point, we have little information because it was so dark. We know there's at least 2 suspects, both armed with pistols, appeared to be semi-automatic pistols. We found multiple shell casings at the scene, and they fled on foot. We have no further information at this point, but we are investigating several leads. Again, these are really pillars of our community. These are working families. These are working community members. This is part of our community. This is our culture. They've been very cooperative. Obviously, they're extremely upset, but we've received nothing but cooperation from everybody at the house. There was no indication that there were any weapons at the house. There was a weapon that was non-functioning inside the residence that was never used. And it was not involved in this incident. So the answer to that question is there was no other weapons other than those owned by the suspects. This happened very fast. Again, once they entered the backyard, they fired randomly into the crowd. It does not appear that they were targeting any individuals. And they fired, once they fired their rounds, they fled. So it was almost immediate. Again, that was another Southeast Asian shooting, a homicide. We do not know if they're related. Obviously, we are looking in to see if there is a connection, but at this time I cannot say that they are related. It does indicate that some of the members who were attending the football party were involved in a disturbance during the prior week. We are looking to see if there's a connection between that disturbance and last night's shooting. However, we have no indication that those 2 are connected at this point. We have no indication that this is related to any online event. It does appear to be very targeted, that they were going to this specific address, but it does not at this point appear to be any online connection. Again, I can't tell you much. It's still an ongoing investigation. All I can tell you is that there were several people at this party who were involved in a disturbance in the week prior, and we're just looking to see if there's a connection. We're not indicating that there is. It's just one of the leads that we're following up on. It was one of the residents of the group. I'm not certain of the name of who owned it, but it was owned by the group that were having the party. No, it was not. That was just a fight. Officers were called out. However, no case was written, as most of the individuals who were involved in the disturbance had already left the scene. Yes. Again, they did not enter into the house itself. They entered into the backyard through a side gate, which was unlocked, and went down the side of the house into the backyard. There was no indication that there were any exchange of any words. Witnesses only indicated they saw the muzzle flash from the weapons. Multiple shots, more than 10. I believe they did. Some of them did survive, and again, we are getting full cooperation from everybody at the residence. And I want to stress that this is a truly a good group of people that were just simply having a party, and so we're getting excellent cooperation from everybody that attended this event. I believe not only did we receive it from that, but we've also received indications from outside sources. Again, I haven't been that deeply briefed on the investigation. And again, it is unfolding. It occurred last night. So I can't completely answer your question, but I know we are getting cooperation not only from the group that were at the residence, but also from friends and family of this group. It's my understanding that most of the people at the party spoke English, and others spoke limited English. So we were able to communicate pretty well with residents. But we did bring in Southeast Asian Hmong officers so that they could communicate in their language. And one is that brings a closeness and gets them to realize that we're part of the community, the police department, and we're with them. But it also increases their comfort level as they communicate with us. I'm not going to give that out right now. Oscar. I do not know if the owner was, it does not indicate that the owner was injured. We do not know what race they were at this point. Again, all we have is two subjects that fled the scene. Well, we've had some issues in that neighborhood, but this is not considered a problem neighborhood for us. There was not significant or really any calls for service at this individual residence that I've been made aware of. But I can tell you that the neighborhood is relatively quiet, and it's a working class, middle class neighborhood. We've had 3 incidents in November involving Asian gangs. We've had 11 incidents over the year involving Asian gangs. We also have our Hmong New Year celebration coming up in December and in January, which draws thousands of people, not only from within our community, but from outside our community. And we want to make sure that we're ahead of this before we have this influx of Southeast Asian members of our community arrive. Again, we haven't seen a spike in Asian gang violence in a while, and we're starting to see it now as we're heading into the Hmong New Year celebration. We just want to get ahead of it, and there have been a task force that have been established in the past for Asian gangs. Again, we're investigating the uptick. It could be anything from a disturbance that carried over. Again, I'm not relating it to last night's incident, but the increase in gang violence could be somebody was released from jail or prison recently, or it could be just a domestic dispute that grew. Yeah, again, I'm not going to comment on the investigation at this point. I can tell you that we are going door to door, and we are looking for any video cameras that are available. We are also searching the exterior for our video policing cameras so that we can look at intersections to see what type of vehicles were leaving the scene. So we are going through every video camera, but I'm not going to comment on the investigation at this point. Excuse me? Well, my message is, one is we're coming for you. We've got a single focus within the organization, and that this is not going to be tolerated in the Southeast community or in any community in Frezno. So we will be out in full force, not only in the district, making sure that incidents don't flare up, but we'll have a combined state, federal, and local effort to apprehend them. Well, obviously, I'm concerned about any further acts of violence. This suspect or suspects have shown a disregard for human life by just spraying bullets into a crowd of people. Thankfully, the children were inside the house at the time, but they could have just as easily been injured or killed. So obviously, I'm very concerned about further acts of violence. I don't have an actual count, but I would say it's in excess of 60 officers. Absolutely. Starting last night, we brought in additional resources into the neighborhood, and those will be increased as we continue our investigation. Again, they are as concerned and as frightened as I am. They have not indicated that this is related to any gang activity or any retaliation. Again, they've been very cooperative. We have no reason to believe that they aren't giving us every bit of information they have, but we have not had that indication. Again, all I will tell you right now is that there were multiple weapons used, or multiple shell casings found of different caliber, and they were pistol caliber, not rifle. I do not have the names of the victims with me right now. I am still waiting to ensure that the family has been properly notified. All I have right now for you is the ages. Yeah, I believe as a evening, again, this is just my belief. I believe as the evening continued into the night, the cooler air came, and the children and some of the women went into the house to watch TV, and the men were outside watching the football game. So it was just purely luck that they were separated at that time. Yeah, at this point, I'm going to ask Pao Yang to step up and kind of address some of the community issues.
First of all, I want to thank Chief Hall and the Frezno PD for their quick response. it's a dark day in our community, not only in our Hmong community, but I think in our Frezno community. I'd like to ask the press and folks to also respect the family in the incident. To answer your question, two of the victims that passed away are well known in the Hmong community. I represent the Frezno Center. We're a nonprofit organization in Southeast Fresno, and they come out and perform to our mental health clients, every year, especially gearing up for the Hmong New Year. A lot of these folks are scheduled to perform at the Hmong New Year, and these are people that are near and dear to us. I don't see any gang affiliation with these folks. Like Chief said, very disturbed. At the moment, I don't know what to say. Community elders are calling Fresno Center for assistance. I also want to thank Mayor Lee Bryan. I know he's on vacation. He also called earlier today. And I want to thank Chief Hall for letting me know as well yesterday of the incident. But I ask that the press don't spend this any other way. I know it's still in the early stage of investigation. But I want to thank everybody for their support. Our community is in mourning. We still don't know what's going on or who are the suspect. So I'm thankful to be here to address and to represent our Hmong community. Thank you. Yeah, both of them were well-known singer, and one of them that died at the hospital was the one that come out almost every few months to sing to our mental health clients when we have our workshop and event. So, thank you. I probably won't share personally. I'll let the Fresno PD address that. This is their case, not my case. Thank you.
Lastly, I'd like to introduce Dale Mendoza. Dale is a president of our Crime Stoppers program, and he would like to go over some of the reward money that is available in this case. Yep.
Thank you, Chief. I'm Dale Mendoza. I'm the president of Valley Crime Stoppers. What a terrible situation we have in our community here, and I send our regards to the family. At this particular time, we are going to offer a $5,000 cash reward to anyone with information leading to the arrest of these bad guys. In this city, we need help. If we've ever need help, we need this community to come together now to try to solve this awful, terrible crime. And at that point, if anybody knows anything, sees anything, or hears anything, please call us at 498-STOP, and it's a $5,000 reward. And you will not be, it's anonymous, completely anonymous. We don't know who you are. In fact, we don't know who you are, and we do need the help, the police department, to solve this crime. So any help would be greatly appreciated, and it is a cash reward.
Okay, we'll be concluding the interview unless you have any further follow-up questions. All of those agencies bring a lot of expertise. They also bring a lot of equipment as well as resources that assist us in the investigation. Well, I would like to just say that I was out at the scene last night, and I watched the professionalism of our officers, and not only our officers, but the first responders from the Frezno Fire Department and American Ambulance. They were all, it was a horrific scene, and they were very professional and very methodical in their approach to saving lives. So I think I'm just so proud of all of our first responders that responded to this event. I don't know. I'll be working with POW in the community to see how we're going to respond. But obviously, that we will participate in any attempt to heal the community. Thank you for asking. How Yang? Well, obviously the community involvement is critical. Like Dale said, any information that the community has, we would like to receive. That can be done either through the police department or anonymously through Crime Stoppers. And we will also be reaching out to whatever leads we can develop as far as any video or any statements from community. So we'll be putting all that together in the near future. Well, right now we're involved in a homicide investigation involving 4 victims, with 6 others that are injured. We have a grieving community, and we have an ongoing homicide investigation. And at this point, I'm not going to comment on any politics or political issues involving guns. I'll leave that up to the politicians, who I'm sure will follow. 2 of the 6 are still in the hospital recovering from their injuries. At this point, they are in considered stable condition. Well, we just had again, it's all in the Southeast Policing District, and this is the largest grouping of Southeast Asians we have in Frezno. And we have seen an uptick in violence related to the Southeast Asian community. Most of this has been gang related. Again, I'm not indicating that this event was gang related, but I can tell you the other events in the Southeast District have been identified as being gang involved. Again, I'm not indicating that this is a gang related incident. The shooting we're having the press conference about, what I am indicating that is we always look at gang involvement in any violent crime, and we try to rule it out. So at this point, we have not ruled gang involvement out. Thank you very much.
I'm Patrick Moody, Public Information.